So you have a sculpture or figure that you're ready to cast in resin, but how do you choose a resin? Let's do that today. Let's jump into things you should know when choosing a resin for your sculpture or figure. Real quick, if you like this video, then please actually like this video. That helps me, that helps all of us here to continue to support you in the ways that you like to be supported. You get it? It's a pun. Now we've got the molds here of our dino and our egg respectively. If you want to know how we got these molds, then you should check out that video where we went through how to choose a silicone for that whole process. But we're going to consider three things when choosing a resin now to cast in these molds. Number one is, how will the piece be used? Do we need a lot of rigidity, flexibility, durability? We got to sort through that. Number two is, what finish do we need? Clear, opaque, a color? There's a bunch of different finishes you can have with resins. And then number three is, what tools do you have in your shop that you can work with? Some resin choices require certain tools. We've got to sort through that.
When I say tools, I don't mean stir sticks and cups. I'm talking about the larger tools made specifically for mold making and casting. The main two that we use are vacuum chambers and pressure pots. We don't need either of those for this one, but I'll cover those two a little later on.
How's it going to be used? What finish do you need? And what tools do you have at your disposal? Now let's ask some questions when we look at our dino here. Number one is, how's it going to be used? Does it need to be flexible? Does it need to be durable? Am I going to throw the part on the ground, or am I going to bend it a ton?
Truth be told, there are a lot of nuanced factors to choosing a resin like this, because there are a gazillion options of resins out there. But for the sake of time and to make things easy on you, we're keeping it simple. A rigid resin will work for this situation just great.
It doesn't need to be flexible or durable, really. It just needs to be rigid. A solid rigid resin will do the trick. Now, as far as our finish goes, we have to think about what the dino is going to look like. I want it to look like a solid little baby dino in there, so I want an opaque resin, something that's not clear. I know I'm going to dye the dino a certain color in the casting itself to save myself a bunch of painting time. So that means I also need a resin that's going to cure, opaque, be dyed, and be paintable. Now, as far as tool goes, in the studio, I have almost every tool that you would need when it comes to mold making and casting. However, we don't actually need any of those tools for this dino. Little bubbles inside the dino itself don't matter to me because it's going to be encapsulated in the egg. So we're just going to go ahead and open air cast this thing, no big deal. Since we are encapsulating this in the egg, I am going to embed a little bit of fishing line into the bottom of the dino so I can suspend it in the egg mold when I go to cast that one. Just another thing to keep in mind. You got to think through all the processes here. All right, with all this question and answer and all this information we've gathered, we know that we need a fast casting, rigid, opaque resin that can be painted and then subsequently cast around. Now, we have a few resins that fall into this category, but our amazing casting resin is a great choice here. Plus, you can get it at like local hobby stores too. This stuff is easy to get your hands on. We'll go ahead and cast our dino in that, embed that fishing line, and keep going. Now, as I was painting the dino here, I realized something. I needed to seal up the dino before I casted it in the clear slow. If I didn't do that, the paint had a chance of kind of leaching its way into the urethane of clear slow, and that finish would not have been, it would have been ruined. So I real quick grabbed that ETI resin spray and sealer and gave our dino 3 easy and light coats to make sure everything was nice and sealed up. Now let's talk about our egg. It's very similar here in the sense that we don't need it to be super flexible in any way, so a rigid resin's going to be fine. Number two is, what finish do we need? We know from the fact that we've already kind of seen the egg here that the egg needs to be clear. We need to see the dino inside. So we need a rigid resin that's also clear. And not just like kind of clear, really clear, so that we can pick up on all the details of the dino. You are going to be hard pressed, I promise you this, to find a better resin on the market than our Clear Slow when it comes to this need. It's super, 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 super clear, especially when you pressure cast it. There's no bubbles and, oh man, people love this stuff. If you haven't seen this stuff before, just Google like Clear Slow urethane and just look at some of these projects. They're incredible. I mentioned before we got a lot of tools here, and we're gonna take advantage of one of those tools in particular. That's the pressure pot. If you're doing a lot of castings, a pressure pot is like the first tool that you should get. It actually compresses all the little air bubbles within a resin material, crushes them so you can't see them, and then when the resin cures, they're forever gone and you're never gonna see them ever again. It's a great tool. Here we use our pressure pots and vacuums from Best Value Vacs. They do a great job creating tools for casting and mold making. Vacuums, pressure pots, they're a good company, you should check them out. We'll put a link in the description. If you don't have a pressure pot, but you still want that clarity, you could use our deep pouring epoxy. That's another great option. Just keep in mind you have longer work time and a longer cure time. All right, so we need a rigid resin that is completely clear that we know we can pressure cast with. So we've got our resin of choice, we've got our molds. Let's go ahead and get mixing and get pouring here. Now our egg is all cured up, we're ready to demold it, and whop, whop, whop. Look at that, complete whiff. The ETI resin spray and sealer didn't really help. It kind of just made a weird snowflakey effect. I mean, the paint didn't run, but it's not like it's a good finish. All right, so we're gonna have to come up with a different solution to fix this, and I think I've got an idea. I'm gonna use our amazing Co Epoxy here instead of that resin spray and sealer. The Quick Coat's a little bit more substantial. It'll cure really quickly so I can keep going in the process, and it should give us a better finish. Does it mean I have to recast a dyno, repaint it and all that? Yes, it does, but for you, I'll do it. All right, now that is a lot better. Still not perfect. I could do this again in a way that I think is perfect. Here's the thing. You're gonna run into frustrations like this when you're doing resin castings. My encouragement to you is don't get discouraged. Really don't get discouraged. I'm learning as you're learning too. Anybody who's done this for a really long time is also still learning themselves. Don't beat yourself up, it's okay. You might have to redo a whole project once or twice and be really sad and need to take 5 minutes or go to lunch ahead of time. Part of the process, don't stress out. Remember, when you're choosing a resin for your sculpture or your casting in general, just remember, does it need to do something in particular? What is it going to do once it's functioned? Does it need to have a certain finish? Does it need to look a certain way? And what tools do you have to make this thing complete and cool, right? You've got this. Those are just 3 questions. You'll be able to answer what resin that you actually need to use. If you like this video, then please like this video for me. We have a ton of videos and other content that goes into the nuances of mold making and casting, and I think it might be useful for you. Well, I hope it is at least. Till next time.